timeline of Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's relationship is a little sketchy. And did they actually threaten the press to not talk about that?
You know, Blake Lively played in a movie that I've watched from the 42nd minute on 50 times. Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds for defamation and extortion. On Wednesday, Lively filed an amend law complaint stating she was not alone in raising allegation of on-set misconduct. Amy, what's really going on with this story?
Blake Lively is in full-blown panic mode after getting exposed for allegedly strong-arming the press into keeping her endless scandals under wraps. Her once flawless Hollywood reputation is crumbling fast. First, the cheating drama with Ryan Reynolds had people side-eyeing their perfect marriage, and now the internet is on a mission to unearth every skeleton in her closet. And let's just say, they're finding plenty. Instead of putting out the fire, Blake is fanning the flames with her desperate attempts at damage control. At this point, even her own PR team might be plotting their escape because every move she makes just makes things messier.
Naked truths aren't always pretty.
But Blake Lively's out for truths in her It Ends With Us lawsuit. So much so, the actress added an ex-CIA agent to her legal team.
We love our job and we love our work and we take it very, very seriously.
Oh, it's serious. Blake enlisting Nick Shapiro, the agency's former deputy chief of staff turned PR powerhouse.
Her frantic efforts to control the media are backfiring spectacularly. Rather than burying the scandals, she's making them even bigger. And now, reporters are coming forward, exposing the very secrets she was so desperate to keep hidden. And if that wasn't bad enough, the lawsuit with Justin Baldoni has completely spiraled out of control. But the real humiliation? She's reportedly threatening journalists to keep them quiet. For years, she sold the world a picture-perfect image of Hollywood's golden girl, but that illusion is crumbling, fast. No amount of PR magic can cover up what people are finally starting to see. The cracks in her marriage to Ryan were just the beginning, but once people realized their fairy tale was just another Hollywood mirage, they started digging even deeper. And what they're finding? It's not looking good for Blake. Turns out, the so-called love story Blake Lively sold to the world was full of cracks from the start. When she and Ryan Reynolds first got together, he was still very much married to Scarlett Johansson, and she was publicly linked to her Gossip Girl co-star, Penn Badgley. For years, they stuck to their story, claiming their romance only began once they were both single. But old reports say otherwise. A journalist even came forward with claims that Blake and Ryan were secretly meeting in a New Orleans hotel room while he was still married. That bombshell report was allegedly set to be published, until their PR teams swooped in and shut it down before it could destroy their carefully crafted fairy tale. Now, with those old stories resurfacing, Blake is scrambling. The deeper people dig, the worse her whole narrative unravels. This is no longer just about a lawsuit, a cheating scandal, or a failing marriage. It's about how she has spent years manipulating the media to control her image. And that's exactly why she's going after journalists now, because she knows the second a major outlet decides to spill the full truth, it won't just be about Justin Baldoni. It will open the floodgates. We're talking cover-ups, PR tactics, hidden truths, exposing just how far she's gone to use Hollywood's media machine to rewrite her own reality. Blake Lively's biggest problem? This isn't the early 2000s anymore. The days when celebrities could silence journalists with a few threats and a well-placed PR spin are long gone. Social media has completely flipped the script.
This morning, the court held a Zoom hearing on the protective order of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's legal battle. Currently, there is a model protective order, but Blake Lively's side filed new documents trying to get an AEO, which is an attorney's eyes only protective order. If an AEO provision is granted, it will limit access to certain sensitive information so that only the attorneys involved in the case will be able to see it.
Reporters aren't scared of being blacklisted anymore because they know the public is on their side when it comes to exposing the truth. And the more Blake fights to keep things buried, the more obvious it becomes. She's got something to hide. At this point, it's not even a question of if the truth will come out. It's a race to see who will be the first to spill it all. For someone who spent years crafting an image of effortless charm, she's now looking desperate. Because this isn't just about one lawsuit or one scandal, this is about people finally waking up to the fact that the glossy, polished version of her life was never real to begin with. The fairy tale marriage with Ryan Reynolds, the Hollywood power couple act, the perfectly timed media appearances. It was all a carefully orchestrated illusion. And now, the rules of the game have changed. For good. Meanwhile, Ryan is out here cracking jokes on Saturday Night Live like his personal life isn't going up in flames. But the public? They're not laughing. If anything, his little comedy routine just made things so much worse, because now people are asking why he seems so comfortable joking about a scandal this messy. Blake Lively has spent years mastering the art of image control, but now, with the walls closing in, she's taking it to a whole new level. Outright threatening the press. Hollywood PR cover-ups are nothing new. But this is different. The aggression behind it is undeniable. She's not just trying to twist the narrative in her favor anymore. She's trying to silence it completely. And in a city like New York, where journalists live for scandals and would sell their souls for an explosive headline, that's a battle she simply can't win. But here's where it gets even messier. This isn't just about Ryan Reynolds. Blake's got a pattern, and it stretches way back. Before Ryan, there was Penn Badgley, her Gossip Girl co-star and first in a string of high-profile Hollywood connections. Then came Leonardo DiCaprio in May 2011, barely months after she split from Penn. Suddenly, she's spotted on a yacht with Leo, and the timing? Suspicious, to say the least. Especially considering that the Great Gatsby casting rumors were in full swing at the time. Reports even suggested that Blake had been in the running for the role of Daisy Buchanan. But once her short-lived, highly publicized romance with DiCaprio fizzled out, the role mysteriously went to Carey Mulligan instead. Just a coincidence? Or was Blake strategically leveraging relationships to climb the Hollywood ladder? Next on Blake Lively's list? Ryan Gosling. And once again, the timing raised eyebrows. In October 2010, while she was still working on Green Lantern, she was spotted on multiple outings with Gosling. Paparazzi even caught them looking cozy at Disneyland, and sources described them as flirty and affectionate. But here's where it gets interesting. This was before she was ever publicly linked to Ryan Reynolds. Yet, by December 2010, just 2 months later, suddenly the headlines had shifted. Now, she wasn't with Ryan Gosling, she was rumored to be Ryan Reynolds' new love interest instead. Another Hollywood romance, another suspiciously well-timed transition. One connection fizzles out, just as she sets her sights on an even bigger name. Then came the relationship that changed everything, Ryan Reynolds. And the way their PR teams rewrote history? Almost impressive. When Blake and Ryan made their official debut as a couple in October, the narrative was flawlessly packaged. Two old friends reconnecting after filming Green Lantern, falling in love on a double date with other people, and then tying the knot a year later. A picture-perfect Hollywood romance. But insiders knew better. Journalists had already gotten wind of those secret hotel meetups in New Orleans, the very ones that were reportedly scrubbed by their PR teams before US Weekly could expose them. The effort put into erasing that part of their history was extreme, and the fact that their relationship has always been suspiciously drama-free, that's no accident. And now, with the Justin Baldoni lawsuit pulling back the curtain on how Blake Lively operates behind closed doors, people are asking, did she try to run the same play again? By the time the Justin Baldoni lawsuit hit the headlines in early 2025, industry insiders were already whispering that something was off about It Ends With Us. But what no one expected? A Reddit post from August 2024 had already laid out the entire scandal, months before it blew up. The post, written by an anonymous user claiming to have inside knowledge from someone working on the film, detailed exactly how Blake Lively would allegedly use serious accusations as a power move to get what she wanted. And then, everything unfolded exactly as described. According to multiple sources, including leaked conversations from the set, Blake had been at odds with Justin Baldoni from the very start. The two clashed hard over creative direction, with Blake pushing for a different tone than what Justin, as the film's director, envisioned. But this wasn't just about artistic differences. This was about control. Blake reportedly wanted final say over the edit, a level of power Sony wasn't willing to hand over. And that is when everything shifted. Blake Lively allegedly started expressing discomfort around Justin Baldoni. But that wasn't the real shocker. The key moment? Justin reportedly made an offhand comment about how she looked sexy in an outfit on set. At the time, it didn't spark any major issues. No formal complaints, no HR involvement. But months later, that same moment was suddenly being used as the centerpiece of Blake's serious allegations. And here's where things get even more suspicious. It wasn't just about calling out inappropriate behavior. Blake didn't take it to HR. She didn't file a legal complaint. Instead, she allegedly used the accusation as leverage in a business negotiation. According to the Reddit insider leak, Blake directly threatened Sony executives, demanding full creative control over the film, or she'd take her accusations straight to the New York Times.
I defend Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating over the fact that he's a man. But he's, to me, is sort of the embodiment of what happens when you totally emasculate a man.
And Sony? They caved instantly. With the Me Too movement still carrying massive weight in Hollywood, no studio was willing to take the risk of siding with a male director over a high-profile actress making such a claim. It didn't matter that Justin Baldoni had never faced accusations before. The threat alone was enough. Within weeks, Sony had banned Justin from the studio lot, effectively erasing him from the very project he had been attached to from the start. And just like that, Blake walked away with exactly what she wanted, total control over the film. But Blake's story started falling apart, fast. For starters, the timeline was a mess. The alleged incident with Justin Baldoni had happened months before she suddenly decided to use it as a bargaining chip. No formal complaint was ever filed at the time, and crew members from the set had wildly different accounts. Some claimed they never saw any tension between Blake and Justin. Others suggested the situation was being blown way out of proportion. Then came Sony's silence. Normally, when a studio takes swift action over serious allegations, they at least release a statement reaffirming their commitment to protecting employees. But this time, nothing. Sony banned Justin, handed Blake full control of the film, and refused to say a word about what had actually happened. Even more suspicious? Justin Baldoni never admitted to any wrongdoing, and his team didn't just stay quiet, they immediately pushed back against the allegations. That alone was telling. In most cases, when someone knows they're guilty, they go into damage control mode. But Justin's legal team came out swinging, framing the entire situation as a blatant abuse of power on Blake's part. A calculated move to force him out and seize control of the project. And then, the final nail in the coffin. With Justin gone, Blake took over post-production, and it was a complete disaster. She brought in her own editors, including Taylor Swift's music video team, and reworked massive portions of the film. What was supposed to be a major Hollywood moment was quickly turning into a train wreck. Hollywood's reaction? Brutal. At a private screening, top-tier A-listers, including Ben Affleck and Bradley Cooper, were reportedly confused by the movie's direction. One insider didn't hold back, saying, "It makes no sense." By this point, the Justin Baldoni scandal wasn't just a legal issue anymore. It had become a full-blown Hollywood controversy. Had Blake Lively weaponized a serious accusation to seize power over a film, only to completely botch the project once she was in charge? The industry was split, but one thing was crystal clear. Blake's usual tactics were no longer working in her favor. And just when it seemed like the situation couldn't get any more tangled, another name got dragged in: Taylor Swift. Blake's legal war with Justin Baldoni was already messy, but now there was a new layer no one saw coming. On the surface, Blake and Taylor's friendship always seemed like harmless Hollywood girl power. Cute Instagram posts, vacation snapshots, and even Taylor name-dropping Blake's kids in one of her songs. But as the lawsuit unfolded, it became clear Taylor Swift was far more involved than she let on. Why else would Blake ignore experienced film editors and instead bring in Taylor Swift's own music video editing team? The same team responsible for Taylor's high-budget, ultra-polished visuals? This wasn't just about creative control anymore. This was about power moves at the highest level. The move sent shockwaves through the industry. Taylor Swift's editors were known for crafting stylized, high-energy music videos, but a feature film? That was completely out of their wheelhouse. And then, just when it seemed like the situation couldn't get any messier, Blake made another bold move. She forced the studio to fire the film's original composer. The decision raised immediate red flags. The composer had already finished a significant portion of the film's score, so why cut them so late into post-production? It didn't add up until insiders started connecting the dots. Turns out, Taylor Swift had personal history with the composer from a past project, and she wasn't about to let Blake keep them on the film. According to multiple industry sources, Taylor issued a direct ultimatum to Sony: fire the composer, or I pull my song from the soundtrack. And Sony? Already scrambling to salvage the film, they didn't even hesitate. The composer was gone, and in their place, Blake restructured the film's entire score, shaping it around Taylor's signature sound. Now, the real question is, was Taylor Swift actively helping Blake manipulate the situation? Or was she simply protecting her own interests without realizing the bigger picture? Blake Lively's desperation to control the narrative has reached an entirely new level. After successfully pushing Justin Baldoni out of his own film, manipulating Sony into handing her full control, and allegedly using serious accusations as leverage,
one of the things that I am most looking forward to in 2025 is seeing what Blake Lively will say under oath at trial. Because not only has Justin Baldoni filed a lawsuit against the New York Times, but he will most certainly also file a lawsuit against Blake Lively and potentially others. Unless she decides to settle out of court, if he's even willing to settle, because his reputation has taken a serious hit because of her alleged wrongdoings, which we have receipts for now, thanks to his just filed lawsuit. I remember vividly watching an interview that went viral where Blake Lively was promoting their movie, which he directed, starred in, and produced, It Ends With Us. And in that interview, Blake Lively said that she played the role of intimacy coordinator, making us believe that there was no intimacy coordinator. And she literally said it shouldn't be that way, where she had to be the intimacy coordinator. Well, turns out she was lying.
You'd think she would be satisfied. But with every new report exposing the behind-the-scenes chaos, Blake has realized something terrifying. The truth is slipping out of her hands. Blake Lively has officially lost control of the press. And now, she's coming for YouTubers, bloggers, and journalists, doing everything in her power to silence independent voices. The moment she lost her grip on Sony executives, she shifted her threats toward online creators. Her legal team is now actively targeting YouTubers and independent journalists, anyone who dares to report even slightly in favor of Justin Baldoni. This isn't just speculation, it's happening in real time. Perez Hilton, one of the most notorious gossip bloggers in the industry, publicly revealed that he's been accused of parroting Wayfarer's narrative. Translation: Blake's team is working overtime to discredit anyone who doesn't push her version of events. And Perez isn't the only one. Candace Owens, who has been relentlessly covering the lawsuit, has also been named in legal discussions as someone supposedly spreading misinformation. But here's the problem. She's not. She's literally reporting on court documents, leaked text messages, and insider reports, all of which Blake herself made public. If Blake's own legal filings are making her look bad, that's not misinformation. That's self-inflicted damage. The timeline is impossible to ignore. Blake's team hand-delivered private messages between Justin and his PR team to major media outlets, carefully crafting a narrative that he was controlling and inappropriate on set. She wanted the world to see his private conversations until it backfired. Now that Justin's team is clapping back with more private messages, production notes, and insider testimonies, Blake suddenly doesn't want anyone seeing behind the curtain anymore. Legal experts watching the case have already pointed out the glaring contradiction. If a judge allows Blake to hide key details under confidentiality agreements, while Justin is forced to fight this battle in the public eye, it would set a dangerous precedent. And at this point, the judge is likely losing patience with Blake's legal team and their endless stalling tactics. But Blake's real nightmare isn't just this court case. It's the fact that the public isn't buying her act anymore. Everything she's done to control the media narrative has completely backfired. She's desperately trying to silence YouTubers, bloggers, and independent journalists. But it's only making people more determined to expose the truth. The mainstream media may have been easy to control in the past. She and Ryan successfully buried their original cheating scandal for over a decade. But social media? That's an entirely different battlefield. The more she tries to suppress information, the more the internet digs deeper. And now? The press isn't backing down. If anything, they're doubling down. The harder Blake fights to keep details under wraps, the more people assume she has something to hide. And at this point, she's not just losing in court, she's losing the battle for public perception. And in Hollywood, that's the one thing no amount of PR can fix. But this saga? Far from over. Because if history has shown us anything, Blake isn't done yet. Who knows what wild twist she'll pull next? If you don't want to miss a second of it, hit like, share, and subscribe. Because this story, it's only getting started.